So our next student, Simi, is going to talk to us about happiness. Again, we get to dive back a little bit with Simi, and so let's do that now. One of the things I love about all these slides is also just paying attention to all the different environments, all the different experiences that these kids have been through in order to get to this point. Simi McGrew.
Hi, I'm Simi, and I've been studying happiness for the past 13 weeks. I originally went into this project with no clue what to do. I just knew I wanted to do something that would help future Simi be happy. Eventually I realized that I want to be happy and I want the people around me to be happy, but I seldom hear of what happiness is or how it works. So why don't I just study happiness? The Sage School mission states that the Sage School creates a thriving environment for students through a challenging, authentic curriculum centered on human ecology and engaging experiences, designed specifically to promote self-awareness, community responsibility, and a sense of place. Through my ITri, I've sort of discovered that the Sage School mission is in part the key to happiness. A sense of community and a sense of place, i.e. social and nature connectedness, are deeply impactful on individual well-being, and really are the basis of my ITri. And it all relates back to your sense of self in a way. Happiness, the word and the sentiment, is defined in many different ways throughout cultures, disciplines, and experiences. There are so many possible ways to go about defining happiness, but for my ITri, I settled on looking at happiness through the lens of psychology. In modern psychology, a standard definition has begun to emerge that connects happiness with the larger idea of well-being. According to the article, The Science of Happiness in Positive Psychology 101, happiness is understood as the positive emotions we have in regards to pleasurable activities we take part in through our lives. This simply means that happiness is feeling pleasurable emotions such as joy or belonging, specifically brought on by activities throughout our lives. While well-being is defined in the article Adult Friendship and Well-Being, a systematic review with practical implications as a broad concept composed of life satisfaction, meaning, and the absence of negative psychological functions. Basically, this means feeling content with your life, like you have a purpose for your life, and having minimal negative emotions, such as depression or anxiety. From these definitions, I developed my own guiding definition. Happiness is a concept within the broad idea of well-being, composed of life satisfaction, meaning the presence of positive emotions, and minimal negative psychological functions. Within these definitions, happiness is generally discussed in two terms: eudaimonic, sorry for the pronunciation, and hedonic. These are two different approaches to understanding happiness. Eudaimonic generally relates to long-term fulfillment, growth, and meaning. An example of this could be volunteering with a land trust, where the act of physical working might be hard and not enjoyable, but the feeling of making a difference can lead to long-term happiness or fulfillment. This is mostly what I focused on throughout my project. Hedonic is another type of happiness, and it generally relates more to short-term pleasure. Hedonic happiness is those feelings of excitement or happiness that come from eating a good meal or watching a movie, where maybe you feel pleasure for a little while before it inevitably fades. These two types of happiness work together to build well-being. Furthermore, happiness has components. One popular formula for measuring the components of happiness is your happiness equals your genetic set point plus your outer circumstances plus your voluntary activities. Every individual has a happiness set point that is determined by their genes. This genetic set point is where you tend to settle into happiness. I found it easier to think of it like a range, and your voluntary activities can decide where you fall into that range. As Jonathan Haidt says, good or bad fortune, you will always return to your happiness set point, your brain's default level of happiness, which was determined by your genes. Conditional limitations also play an important role in well-being. However, they have less of an impact than often assumed by Western culture. They are important up until your physical and psychological needs are met. In fact, money can only buy happiness up to about $75,000. After that, it has no significant effect on our emotional well-being. This is because of a concept called the hedonic treadmill, where people adapt to positive or negative events, such as winning the lottery or becoming paralyzed, and eventually return back to their happiness set point. This is where my thesis comes in. My thesis is, although there are biological and conditional limitations, happiness can be intentionally enhanced through deep social connections and a meaningful relationship with the natural world. So, for my field phase, I explored this. I spent my field phase at a retreat center in Mahahual, Mexico, attending 2 retreats focusing on connectedness. I met incredible people and built incredible connections, and I found my thesis to be correct. So, social connection plays a large role in well-being, and the research supports this. It's stated in the article, Adolescent Connectedness, Cornerstone for Health and Well-Being, that by connectedness, we mean a sense of being cared for, supported, belonging, and closeness to others, which comes from protective, sustaining relationships with families, schools, and communities. These relationships are cornerstones of health and well-being, and for adolescents, the connections with family, peers, and community have critical effects on development. Social connection has physical, psychological, and neural benefits. Social connection plays an important role in neuroplasticity, meaning it can actually alter the structure of your brain. And social connectedness also increases pro-social behavior, which is basically actions intended to benefit others. Pro-social behavior then increases feelings of well-being and eventually causes more pro-social behavior. It's almost a cycle of happiness. While in Mexico, I found social connection to be almost a defining measure of my happiness. Across language barriers, age gaps, and cultural differences, I found connection, I found happiness, and I made lasting friendships. I was in Mexico for 4 weeks, and there were times when I was alone for most of the day, and that was hard. It was beautiful, but it was hard, and it really got the point across that human connection is so important. It is something that I will take with me for the rest of my life. While on my field phase, I focused a lot on meditations. And I did many. But I'm going to guide you through a very short meditation that I've been doing for years, and really helps me feel connected to the people around me. So to begin, I will welcome you to close your eyes and come to stillness. Notice where you can feel your breath. It may be your nose, stomach, or chest, and take a few deep breaths. Now you can bring someone to mind. It can be the person sitting next to you, a friend, family member, or whoever comes to mind. Observe them in your mind. Now, keeping this person in mind, realize this person has a body, just like you. They breathe and their heart beats, just like yours. This person has felt joy, sadness, pain, and confusion, just like you. Just like you, this person has laughed, giggled, and cried. This person is the main character in their own story, just like you are in yours. And this person's ancestors would be overjoyed that this person even exists at all, just like yours. Now, you can take a few more deep breaths and let this person fade away. Slowly, you can come back into your body, noticing and open your eyes. While on my ITri, I found myself doing this meditation over and over, in the airport, during morning yoga, when listening to music, and when doing water therapy. It helped me feel connected, and is something I have found myself continuing to do when I feel sad or lonely. Focusing on social connection and doing this meditation is something I will be taking with me to college and beyond, and I invite you all to do the same. Another thing that can impact well-being is nature connectedness. Connectedness is a key word here. Sometimes I find that just being outside is assumed to make you happy. And while it definitely can, it really is how you relate to nature that can impact your well-being. In an article by the Mental Health Foundation, it is stated that when we have levels of natural connectedness, we are often happier in life, feel our lives are more worthwhile, and have lower levels of depression and anxiety. This is because of a concept called person-environment fit, which is when our biological and physiological needs are substantially fulfilled by an environment, such as nature. Furthermore, nature triggers the basal ganglia and opioid receptors, increasing feelings of well-being. Nature connectedness played a large role in my time in Mexico as well. I found myself focusing on being aware of and developing a reciprocal relationship with the world around me. I worked in the gardens, spent hours in the ocean, painted by the trees, and did little noticing meditations. I found myself really noticing and appreciating the environment around me, and I definitely noticed how it impacted my well-being in really neat ways. At the very beginning of my time at the retreat center, I found that the mornings I got up to watch the sunrise affected me all day, and I made a point to try and do it every day. This is just one simple example of how impactful connecting with nature can be. Connecting with nature is another tool I will be bringing with me for the rest of my life, something I can use this summer in college and beyond. So, I've spent the last trimester studying happiness, and while I've learned a lot, I've also found they are all things I sort of already knew and sort of already did. But has really been cemented in me that these things make a difference, and I can do them. I have agency in my own happiness, and I can intentionally affect it through connection. And I hope you all realize that too. So thank you to my mentor, Cutting Khalsa, for building an incredible retreat center and space for growth and taking me in and feeding me. Thank you to everyone I met for showing me connection and making me smile, and thank you to my parents and teachers for making this a possibility. Any questions?
Do you feel more happy after studying happiness?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on when I focus on it, for sure. I feel like I now have more tools that I can bring with me. And so it's definitely something I've been using in my life more. So yes, but I think it really just depends on how you focus on it. And it's not something that you can just all of a sudden be like great at being happy. It takes practice.
You mentioned the short-term, long-term happiness. What, did you do in Mexico for either of those?
Yeah, so there's all sorts of things that can impact both. And one thing that I found, I really love food and cooking, and there was really a big sort of importance of that in Mexico. And so that is one example of having a really great meal. That makes me happy, but it doesn't necessarily last a very long time. Whereas something like some of the friendships I've made, I'm in contact with them and I'm gonna go visit them. And those are things that I think will make me more lasting, connected and happy. Yeah.
Maggie. Simi, in your definition of happiness, you talked about minimal negative psychological functions.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder, does that mean avoiding sadness, or how do negative emotions play into your definition of happiness?
Yeah, so I think negative emotions are important. You're not just gonna be only happy all the time. I think that it's sort of a balance between being able to feel sad, but then also being able to live and be happy, and realizing that sadness is a part of being happy and finding meaning in life. That makes sense. Coca?
Simi, I love that you led us through that meditation, and I'm curious, you said that you practice that meditation a lot. One, why specifically that one, and what does it give to you?
Yeah. I have always really liked that one. I think it's one of the meditations that is sometimes a little bit more easy to like put yourself in and focus. And so I think it's something that when I don't necessarily feel in the mood to be like super focused or my attention is all over the place, I think that it's one that really does have sort of, that I can sort of do, and then it does have more sort of like immediate effects of like just feeling really, really connected. And just it like changes your mindset.